Senate GOP Leader Mitch McConnell caves to the Democrats on the debt ceiling, but says he won't do it again. Joe Biden's latest poll numbers reveal a president and an administration in complete disarray. Plus, we'll hear from our special guest, Newsmax host and author, Alison Maloni. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a Saturday live stream.
And God bless the United States of America.
Okay, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Saturday. I hope you had a great week. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell because he had the Democrats right where we wanted them, and he caved. That's right. The Democrats can't get anything done, and the American people can see that they are controlled by the woke radical left of the party. The Democrats are divided on the $3.5 trillion Green New Deal human infrastructure bill. Because of that, you'd think they'd be able to come together on the smaller $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. That's the one the Senate Republicans joined in on with the Democrats. That was a bad move, but hey, they did it anyway, giving the Democrats a chance for a win. But on the House side, the smaller bill is being held hostage until the radical AOC Ilhan Omar wing can get assurances that the big bill will pass. Are you getting all of this? It won't, so they blocked the smaller one. Then, on top of that, Congress was facing a default on American debt payments unless the debt ceiling was raised. It was the perfect storm for the Democrats who controlled the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. But then, in comes Mitch McConnell to save the day, to cave in and give Pelosi and Schumer and AOC some breathing room by bringing some Republicans on board to raise the debt ceiling in the short term. It was a bad move, but McConnell did it anyway. Of course, the Democrats immediately moved back to blasting the GOP, and now McConnell says that he learned his lesson, and he won't do it again. Here's the story. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell on Friday warned President Biden that the GOP won't help in any future effort to mitigate consequences of Democrat mismanagement after agreeing Thursday to allow Democrats to raise the nation's debt limit. Republicans filled the leadership vacuum that has troubled the Senate since January, wrote Mr. McConnell. I will not provide such assistance again if your all-Democrat government drifts into another avoidable crisis. He won't provide it again. The question is, why did he provide it in the first place? The Democrats were on the ropes, and he basically said, oh, you want a timeout? You need to catch your breath? Sure, go ahead. Bad politics, bad leadership. Here's more. Late Thursday, 11 Senate Republicans voted in favor of a procedural step allowing a measure to raise the debt ceiling by $430 billion. The move gave Mr. Schumer, New York Democrat, enough votes to avoid a Republican filibuster and avoid a government default until at least December 3rd. Mr. McConnell has come under heavy criticism from lawmakers in his own party who said he caved to a Democrat threat to eliminate the filibuster. Former President Donald Trump has called for Republicans to replace Mr. McConnell as their leader. So now the can be kicked down the road until December 3rd. And what does this whole debt ceiling mean? Think about it like this. Say you make $50,000 per year, but you spend $60,000 per year. You pay for those extra bills with a credit card. Well, now that credit card is maxed out. And rather than cut the spending, you just go ahead and get a new credit card and continue to overspend. That's what's going on. And Mitch McConnell, along with senators like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski and Rob Portman and John Cornyn, gave the Democrats a lifeline. We'll see what happens in December. Raise your hand if you think the debt ceiling will just go up again. All right, so next let's talk about Joe Biden's crumbling poll numbers and his complete lack of leadership. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on. That way you can follow the show and help us grow. Okay, so next we have Joe Biden, who not only received news of another pathetic jobs report, but his own job is under increasing scrutiny and the numbers don't look good. A new Quinnipiac poll shows that Biden is venturing into Jimmy Carter territory. His job approval rating is now at the lowest level of his presidency, and Biden is showing no signs of competence on any issue. Here's the story. A Quinnipiac poll found that President Joe Biden's job approval rating stood at 38%. The university poll noted that this was the lowest since taking office. Half of the poll takers at 50% disapproved of his response to COVID-19, while 48% approved. 55% disapproved of his management of the economy, while 39% approved. Biden's lowest ratings concern immigration issues and the situation at the Mexican border, where 67% disapproved of his efforts in both areas, while 25% approved of the measures he took with regard to immigration, and just 23% approved of his handling of the border situation. So 3 major issues: COVID, the economy, and the border. And Joe Biden is underwater on all of them. But that's not all. According to the report, half of the respondents said they did not trust Biden. They also believe he is not a competent leader of the government. Only 44% thought Biden was honest, and 50% believed that he was not. Meanwhile, 41% thought Biden possessed good leadership skills, while 56% believed he lacked them. Here's more. Tim Malloy, a Quinnipiac University polling analyst, said that Biden's numbers were just as bad as former President Donald Trump's. Battered on trust, doubted on leadership, and challenged on overall competency, President Biden is being hammered on all sides as his approval rating continues its downward slide to a number not seen since the tough scrutiny of the Trump administration, he said, according to the poll. The key phrase there is tough scrutiny, although for former President Trump, I'd call it an all-out attack. The media went after Trump viciously, spreading false stories about Russia while burying stories harmful to Joe Biden. Now, we have a media that wants Joe Biden to succeed, that goes soft on him whenever they can. And yet, his polling numbers continue to crater. When asked why Biden's polling numbers are so bad, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki definitely knew who to blame.
What do you make of these really terrible polls? Are they that he's doing something wrong? Is it just the communication? Or is it he's doing the popular things that have to be done? Or something else?
Sure. Well, look, I would say that this is a really tough time in our country. We're still battling COVID, and a lot of people thought we'd be through it, including us. And we, because of the rise of the Delta variant, because of the fact that even though it was a vaccine that was approved under a Republican administration, even though we now have full FDA approval, and even though it's widely available across the country, we still have a quarter of the country who have, less than that, 20% of the country who've decided not to get vaccinated. No question that's having an impact. And of course, as the president has said, the buck stops with him.
The buck stops with him, as she blames the unvaccinated. No one has confidence that Biden can lead. He stays hidden. He stays scripted. And in the meantime, we have a border crisis, Americans still trapped in Afghanistan, Democrats in disarray, and amid all of that, Biden's team targets the unvaccinated. It's just stunning. All right, so next, we have our special guest, Alison Maloni. Miss Maloni is the CEO of Allison May Public Relations and co-host of Wake Up America Weekend on Newsmax. She is an Emmy Award-winning journalist and is also the author of Breaking in the News, Build Buzz for Your Brand. Alison is an acclaimed keynote speaker, moderator, and media relations expert. Alison, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And I want to start with, well, man, you've got a lot of big news going, but you just landed this gig, this hosting gig, this co-anchor. Tell me how that came out. Tell us about the show a little bit and what we can expect.
Yeah, we're so excited. So this has been in the works for a while, and it was actually supposed to start a little later on in October, but they pushed it up. So we quickly got ready for the show. Tom Basili and I we co-host Wake Up America Weekend, and it's on Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern time, and it's a great morning show. It's essentially similar to what they do during the week on Wake Up America, but we have a little bit of fun. We obviously talk news and politics and what's going on in the world, but it's a little bit more relaxed, which I love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're doing a morning show, I'm fascinated with this stuff too. My background through, a decade, 2 decades and a half is politics, right? And it's moving toward the media. Yours is immersed in the media. So when you're talking about a morning show, what goes into that? Like, what's your timeline on getting ready for a show?
So it's weird because for Saturday, you're really paying attention all week to what's
Mhm.
happening in the news. So you want to obviously be aware of these big topics. We normally meet on a Wednesday and talk about the guests we're going to book for. And Friday night, unfortunately, my Friday nights are no longer fun Friday nights. I'm
Oh no.
scrolling through the news. I'm looking to see, the guests we have booked so we get information on the guests, and we do our research. We work with the team, come up with questions, and so we try and prep. But obviously, if there's breaking news or something happens, you don't have a lot of time to prep. I get into the studio around 4 in the morning, and then meet with the team, and then just get right into the scripts and look at things and change some things, pull different stories, different ideas, go in here and makeup, and then we go. It's very fast.
Wow, that's awesome. So on a free flowing show like that, where like you said, you've got guests, so you do your research. You obviously have some questions lined up. How much of that is like, where you can pump your script in and go compared to having to go off script?
So it's a mix. This
Hmm.
show, the producers are amazing. I cannot say enough about the executive producer and his team. So they really give us a ton of information. They'll give us studies, they'll give us stats, they'll give us if we have specific tweets that we'll be calling for. It's essentially they give us like a research packet, and they will put information in the script if there's sound bites that we want to call for, which is amazing because not all shows are like that. Some shows it's up to you. I mean, what's written in the teleprompter is the name of the guest, who they are, and it's go. And you have 5 minutes
Hmm.
with the guest, and it's all on you. So I've worked both ways, but we are very fluid. So if there's questions in there that I'm thinking, I'm not really sure, I want to ask a different question, I have free reign to ask what I want, to stray from the script. And that happens a lot because
Hmm.
you'll ask someone a question that you have, but then you don't go to the next question because you want to do a follow-up, or they say something that's really interesting, so you stay on that question or that topic. So it's really just one of the producers at Newsmax, Jerry Burke, told me, he said, just news should be like a cocktail party. Pretend people are standing on the outside and they're looking through the glass door and they want to come in, and it's conversational. It shouldn't be scripted, it shouldn't be so rigid. It should be that if people are watching you and they can't hear what you're saying, but they can tell by your reaction that they want to be in on that conversation.
Oh, that's awesome. So I want to get into your background a little bit because I mean this is like a culmination. You're hosting and doing some great stuff, and I read that this has kind of been your desire for a long time. So how did things progress step by step to get you to here?
It was a long process, but you're right. So I wanted to be a journalist when I was 9 years old,
Hmm.
and I did things very differently than typical 9-year-olds. Instead of coming home from school and going outside and playing, I would read the newspaper and I would create my own stories and write my own scripts. And then I would get dressed up and I would be in my room and I would pretend I was doing a newscast. That's what I did, which my friends are like, what is wrong with you? Why don't you ride your bike and come to the mall with us? But I was determined to be a journalist. And fast forward years later, I went to school for it. And then I got a job in Springfield, Mass, at a very small TV station where I was the assignment editor, I was the producer, I was the reporter, and did pretty much everything. Went to Poughkeepsie, came back, worked in Springfield, and a story that I just started telling, which I've had and I've never really shared it, but I just started over the last week or so. I had a news director who told me that I was meant to be behind the camera, not in front of the camera, that I was meant to be a producer. I should not even continue pursuing my goal to be a reporter, just wasn't in the cards for me. And then 3 months later, I got a job offer in Providence where that news director believed in me and gave me the opportunity. And he's been one of my mentors. So when people tell you that you can't do something, I think it really drives you to succeed. And it's always in the back of your mind, kind of, I don't know if it's I want to show her or no, you're wrong, because I think some people can take that and say, well, maybe she's right. Maybe I shouldn't continue to follow my dream. But so I thank her for that.
Well, right, yeah, exactly, because it's not always some of those people that little bit of advice or criticism that she gave might have been the end of the road for some folks. But
Yeah.
those that are determined that can push through and keep going, boom, now you made it. But I want to ask also about the public relations side. Tell me about that a little bit, because now we're in a totally different world, and we can dive into social media and kind of the media in general. But I just wanted to get a little flavor for the public relations, because I know we've got a question coming up later on that. So how did you get started, and how do you think that's evolved over these years?
Yeah, so it was when I did decide to take a break from television because I wanted to have a family. A lot of journalists, when they get out of the business, what they do is they go into PR, marketing, communications, because it's essentially the other side of what they were doing. So instead of being pitched to, now they're pitching to the journalists. So I got a job working for an agency, and similar as news, I learned how to do everything: copywriting, doing ads, and then press releases. And then I would say 8 years ago, I started my own firm and grew my business from there. I had one client and grew from there. But PR has changed even since I started with social media. It's so different now. And I think that there's so many people out there that want to build their personal brand. It's not just for companies, it's for startups, it's for entrepreneurs, it's for people on the side who are doing, a side hustle that want to get on podcasts or be on shows or be quoted. So it's really for everyone, where years ago it was just for like these big companies that had a PR team and it was only their CEO, which is very, very different now.
Right, right. So I got one question. I want to pull this out. This is from my friend Amanda Mackey, and she's got this question for you.
Hi, Allison. This is Amanda Mackey, candidate for Congress in Florida's 13th Congressional District. What is a key public relations strategy that many candidates and office holders overlook? Thank you.
Ooh, that was a good one,
Right,
Amanda.
yeah, that was pretty good.
That was good. There's a couple, and I think it's changing. I would even say over the last like year or so, but a lot of politicians forget about social media, or they use social media the old school way. It's like they think it's a campaign ad. They
Mhm.
need to show behind the scenes, for Instagram stories or Facebook, really who they are, what they're doing, and they need to involve their team. They need to involve people that they're meeting with, and they need to be real and authentic, because I think as a politician, you can maybe create some sort of image that you are, straight and narrow and a politician, and you're doing it this way, and you're shaking hands and kissing babies, which everybody wants to see, but people want to see who you really are. So as a politician, say you're a female and you have children, if you're okay with them, show on a Saturday getting ready for a soccer game. Those types of things people they want to relate to a politician, especially now, because we want politicians, or a lot of people want politicians who are different, who are not stuck in DC. So you need to show your true self. And I think that's really a big part of your PR strategy that some politicians are forgetting about.
Yeah, I love that, because and it's just weird. I just want to compare a couple things, because I think the area that people are in sometimes drives their social media focus. Like, for example, I found when I was in racing, I found it much easier on Instagram to do what you said, to show that full person, because there was a lot of stuff going on. I might be goofing around. I might be at the gym training for a race, showing footage at the race, the cars or whatever. Now that it's more political, I have a harder time doing that. It's like, do these workout pics or videos fit in? Do the more casual things fit in? But it sounds like that's the way to go.
I think it can be a mix too.
Hmm.
And I think it's okay. If you have a lot of people will have their personal pages, and then they have their campaign pages. So if you want to have that personal page that people will follow, you can always make that a little calmer, a little bit more what's happening in your world, and keep
Hmm.
the political page, more serious. And that's what I see a lot of people doing. But yeah, it is hard, because it's that balance. You want people to take you seriously, but you also want them to be able to identify with you.
Yeah, I love that. I love showing off the goofy side too. I just got to figure out how to work it in a little bit with politics and racing. We got plenty of goofy stories and videos and everything like that. But I'm a more serious guy now, supposedly. So I want to ask you about media in general. Now that you've kind of seen the media as it related to Trump and how they went after him, and the media now with Joe Biden. How do you see that changing, and how do you see the media change overall, say in the last 10 years or so?
Oh gosh, how many hours do we have to talk about this?
Yeah, exactly.
It has changed significantly over the last 10 years. And we all know the coverage that President Trump got and he continues to get is very, very different than President Biden. We see the questions, we see how they are in the press room. We've seen it from the beginning. However, I will say I did see a little bit of a shift when that Afghanistan botched withdrawal happened. I did see CNN question him. I did see some of these other left leaning media outlets hold him accountable and start covering things that I was really surprised that they would. But I think that their hands were tied. Like, how can you ignore this story? They've ignored so many other stories. So I do see that they are starting to call him out. But again, I watch these press briefings every day, and she gets these softball questions, and of course he does too. I mean, he's getting and whenever he does answer questions, he's getting questions. He's getting the people to call on, right? I'm told
Right.
I need to call on this person. I'm told I can and cannot say anything. And the media, it's their responsibility to question that. And they're not. I mean, obviously, Newsmax and certain media outlets are doing that, but a lot of them aren't. And they're just giving them a free pass. And it's so different. And look,
Mhm.
we see how different it is just, when they're covering Republicans and Democrats in the Senate and locally as well.
Does Jen Psaki get to Emerald every day, or is it, or
Usually, when she's walking out the door, Emerald will shout a question, and she has called on her. But
right?
somebody asked me the other day, they're like, what do you think about Jen Psaki? I've never met her. She
Hmm.
has a tough job. I would never. The press secretary in any administration has a very difficult job.
Oh yeah.
But I wonder how much they're telling her. I wonder how much she knows. Like, I love to
Hmm.
be a fly in the wall in the White House, because you got to wonder what is happening and what does she know and what does she not know, and that's a tough situation to be in. But yeah, she should call in Emerald a little bit more, I think. But she's
Yeah,
afraid to, because
exactly.
Emerald asks really good questions.
Yeah, she does, and I think maybe Peter Ducey just wears out Jen Psaki, and she says,
Yeah.
"Enough of that. I'm going back to softballs or something like that." Let's move over to social media a little bit, and we've got a question. If we can pull this up from my friend Paul Knight, he sent in a question.
Hey, Allison, this is J. Paul Knight. Just want to say I love the themes in your new book, and I think they really tap into the entrepreneurial spirit of small business. What I want to know about is the impact of social media influencers and how things have shifted in the last couple of decades from old media to these new influencers and the reach that these people have. It's pretty amazing when I see folks I've never heard of and how many people are following them and how much their videos are watched. On another note, I saw that you had recently been at the shooting range on your Instagram page, and I was just curious what you like to shoot. And that's it. Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah,
He's so
that's good.
right
He,
about
he did
social media
the proper
influencers.
multi-part question, right?
He did. He did. He ended with the fun one. I'll
Right.
start with the social media influencers.
Okay.
What a game changer social media influencers have had for PR, for brands in general. And they have more power than some media. I was
Mhm.
talking to one of my clients, and his wife bought like these curlers that go in your hair overnight, and they don't like burn your hair. It's like these, I don't know, like the soft material. And he's like, "What are you wearing?" She's like, "Well, so and so on TikTok had it, so I had to try it." And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" So the power of a social media influencer has for a brand is massive, because people trust them. If you follow someone, obviously you probably have similarities and you believe them. And when they say, "I tried this protein shake and I really like it," well, how many people are going to go and run out that door and get that protein shake because so and so had it? So they're very powerful. But I always say, you don't need to reach these massive, massive influencers like the Kim Kardashians. There's a lot of influencers called micro influencers, which have, 10,000 or less followers, which
Mhm.
actually have a really, really powerful impact because they're connected with their audience, because it's a smaller audience. So they'll talk back to them, they will respond to comments, and the audience feels like, okay, she or he is like one of us, and they actually care about us and they know us. So for brands, it's a great opportunity to get their message out there by reaching out to an influencer.
Hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
I love
the
that.
gun
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. We've
This,
got even some B-roll running. So tell me
yeah.
about that. So you headed out to the range the other day. What were you shooting?
So this was in Suffolk, Virginia, and we did something with Jay Redmond. This was actually a while ago, but I reposted it. And we got to jump out of an airplane, land in a field, and then we got to train with former Navy SEALs. And we shot steel. We did all sorts of training with different weapons. I don't know what I have there. So that was the end. That was the grand finale. I don't know what that is called, but it is massive. And that was my favorite to shoot. And I wasn't going to shoot it at the end. And Jay said, "You shot all day." But the thing
Right.
is, like, I mean, it's supported on like the back of a truck. It's massive.
That
But
windmill thing is very hard.
that is
That
hard.
yeah,
That
once
is,
it gets
well, it was,
going, it,
yeah. I mean, we learned everything from like what happens if you have like your ammo, like, gets stuck, to
Mhm.
changing it while you're walking. So we really learned a lot of different things all day. It was so much fun.
So what'd you think about jumping out of a plane?
I've done it twice,
Okay.
and I think twice is good. It's fun. It's really fun. It was on my bucket list, and it's not what I thought it was going to be like. The worst was being in the plane because you're sitting there and your legs are dangling out, and you're like holding on, just waiting for them to push you out because you're attached to somebody, you're tandem, but you just
Mhm.
don't know, and you just don't know what to expect. But once you go, it's amazing. It is really cool. But I think, I mean, maybe one more time just to say I did it
Right.
3 times, but that'll be it for me.
That's cool. Yeah, I just did it one time. I used to fly all the time, so I was used to that. But my daughter, when she turned 18, she says, "Dad, you got to go with me. We got to jump out of the plane." And I was freaked out when we did it. And then my son, who's 5 years younger, when he turned to 18, I thought he was talking the whole time that we were going to do that again. So I was gearing up like you for jump number two. And then he said instead it was tattoos. So then we got
Oh,
tattoos. So yeah,
well,
I don't
there you
know. I
go.
don't. So that was it right there. But yeah, social media. What do you think about? We saw that this power of the influencers and even at the micro influencer level, but Facebook and Google and Twitter, we saw the impact they had during the Trump years and down the stretch during the campaign. Do you see anything changing there or with the legislation or where do you see that going?
I hope so. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously, what happened this past week, with this whistleblower, I think that things have to change. People have called for it. We have the Section 230 Communication Act. They're looking to change that. I see a lot of these social media platforms that people are comparing them to big tobacco back in, the 80s. And as far as supposedly what they know, they are so powerful. When they had that outage, we have these businesses that completely rely on Facebook and Instagram for everything. Like that is their number one way of advertising and generating revenue. And Facebook and Instagram were down for 6 hours. So they lost so much money. And so
Right.
it's scary that we rely
Mhm.
so much on social media. I mean, my Instagram was hacked yesterday, and I have this book coming out. This could be the worst possible time. So I have to start a whole new page and start from
Oh,
scratch, and they completely have control over everything.
so you didn't get it back. You've got to
I
rebuild.
didn't, and I don't want to bash social media, but you cannot get in touch with anyone at Instagram. There
Right.
is no phone number. There is
Hmm.
no message. There isn't even like a little bot. Like, you can go on websites and at least you get like an automated response. There's
Hmm.
nothing. And
Right.
I have screenshots. They took my account. They changed the email. They changed the phone number connected to it. They're demanding money to get my account back.
Oh my
Nobody to help
gosh.
me whatsoever. And I read article after article, the same thing, that
Hmm.
I mean, they're certainly making billions of dollars, and they will get back to me if my credit cards decline to buy an ad, but they won't get
Right.
back to me when my account is being held.
Oh
So
my
it's
gosh.
crazy.
Well, let's move to some good news then. All right. You alluded to it a little bit, but I want to talk about your book because my copy's coming in Tuesday. So I haven't gotten to
Yay.
get my hands on it yet, but I will have it on Tuesday. So tell me about that, the experience, and then of course let's dive into what it's all about.
Sure. So it's called Breaking in the News, Build Buzz for Your Brand. And it's essentially anything you need to know about how newsrooms work, how the media works, and how to get in the media, whether it's being on a podcast, your local news, national news, writing an op-ed, being a contributor, and it takes you through everything. So me having the experience being in local and national newsrooms and sitting in on meetings, I share that of like what happens, who do you reach out to, how do you get in contact with a journalist, how do you pitch a story, what to do, what not to do. And throughout the book, I have experts who are journalists, they are publicists, they're business owners, people who have podcasts, to all bring their knowledge, and they share all of their tips. And it's a short book. It's like 130 something pages, and it's for startups, entrepreneurs, business owners, and pretty much anyone. So it's all these tips that I've gathered throughout the years, and I put them in a book.
Well, that's awesome. Like I said, mine is coming in Tuesday, I believe. So that means for my Newsmax trip next week, I'll be able to read it on the plane. So I'm sure I'll have a lot of questions for you. That brings me to another question. We had another viewer send in a video question. I'll run that for you because we have a PR expert in training.
Hi, Allison. My name is Caroline Fromme, and I'm a junior at Texas Tech University. As a PR major like myself, considering a career in political PR, what kind of experience do you suggest one would have on their resume as they're entering the workforce in a few years to make them stand out from other applicants?
Ooh, so she's going for a tough one. She wants to be in political PR.
Yeah, I know.
Boy.
She's tough. Yeah, she's a tough one.
She is up for a challenge for sure.
Right.
I always I tell publicists or folks who are going to school for PR, I think it's really important to know to do even an internship in a newsroom, because you want to know how the news works. If you've never been on that side, it's really hard to understand, because people will say all the time, do you have time to grab coffee, or can you do this? And it's just, journalists are on a tight deadline. So if you could even go in and just spend like a couple of weeks behind the scenes or interning or learning how the newsrooms work, that's going to add so much value when you are now working with your clients and helping them get press. I think that's a huge one. The other one is media training. I think a lot of political folks lack that, or a lot of PR people don't have that experience. So if you could take a class or even meet up with a journalist to get skilled on media training, to teach politicians to speak in sound bites, what not to say, their body language, how to act. Those are key, because a lot of the newer politicians lack that, and they don't even really think about that.
Right. Yeah. A lot of them have this message, they're ready to change the world, and they can't even get the words out of their mouth. Or when they do, they're easily trapped by, standard gotcha questions and stuff. That's great advice. I think Caroline's really going to like that. I'm going to be talking to her later, but I appreciate all that. So where can people get the book if they want to get it?
Well, it's on Amazon, so they can go to Amazon, or you can go, so I have a landing page, it's breakinginthenews.com. So they can go there, but it's Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, all online. So it's pretty easy to find if you just Google it.
That's awesome. All right. So what's next? What's next for you? I mean, you got the weekend hosting, you got books. I mean, you got PR. I mean, do you have time for anything else?
Oh my gosh. I know it's been a crazy couple of months. That's for sure. I want to write another book. I started the book I started writing. I stopped and then wrote this book, but I started writing the second book. It's not really PR related. It is business related. And I think I take my interviewing skills and then put it in the book, because I love to include other experts. So that it's going to be a little bit about business and women and overcoming things. So that is next. I loved the writing process. The marketing side and the PR side is really difficult for me, because I have to do it for myself, which is really weird.
Right.
I can do it easily for someone else. When you have to pitch yourself, it's like, oh, this is weird. I don't like to do this.
Right. Yeah, that could be strange. Well, Alison, man, I appreciate it. I can't wait to talk to you. I might be, on the show with you next week, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
I know that's going to be a lot of fun. But I appreciate you coming in. I would love to have you back. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, anytime. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time. That was such a great discussion with Alison Maloni. So now, if you have any other questions for her, please leave them in the comments. And so now I want to take some time to thank some of our super chat folks on the live show, because you guys were going crazy today. If we can pull that up, I just want to thank these folks. We've got Boots and HOC, Kyle Reeves, Snarty, Jay Koch, who was out of control on today's chat, and Scott Bradley. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. I really appreciate it. And as I mentioned before the show, anything that you guys give goes back to making the show better. Better equipment, better facilities, you name it. We're going to put it back into the show so that you can have the best live experience that you can. Now, I want to open things up for Q&A. It's Q&A time. So I know there were some questions that were already posted. So if you have one, let's throw that up there. We have one from Jay Koch. I'm going to look over at our monitor here. It says, what will you be talking about at the upcoming conference you're attending in November? All right, so the folks that don't follow me on Facebook or anything like that, November 6th, I am speaking at Leadership Latino in San Antonio, Texas. I just did the Leadership Latino conference down in Harlingen last weekend, and it was fantastic. My section is on dealing with the media, what to expect from the media. Like if you're an activist or you're a candidate and you're getting interviewed, how do you portray yourself and what might they ask? And if they ask you those tough questions, how do you best respond to that? That's kind of the things we'll be going over. We had a really great time last time. We threw it open. I had some test questions for the group and they responded, and then we analyzed the answers to see what was good, what might have left them open to some other follow-ups from some mean, nasty, leftist media. So that's what we'll be talking about. And we have another one? Yeah, let's throw that up there. And we've got, Jay Koch again. All right, Jay Koch, you're cut off. This is it, man. Said, Bobby, ever think about doing a Texas college speaking tour with other conservatives? Absolutely. I believe in the spring, I'm going to be talking at the College Republican State Convention or state meeting in the spring. I'll be a guest speaker there, but other opportunities to go to college campuses, I'm absolutely on board and I'm looking forward to that. So I think that's about it right now. So we're going to wrap things up. I hope you enjoyed the show, but don't forget, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, regardless of platform, just search out my name, hit that subscribe button, make sure notifications are turned on. That way you can follow the show and help us grow. Okay, before I go, I got to say a special shout out to Anita Reason, who liked my smile. So I got to give her some props and say thank you very much. You're a loyal watcher of the show. You always spread the word. You're great in the chat. Thank you so much for being there. Folks, our next show is Monday at the usual time, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Until then, I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a Saturday live stream. All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.